Good morning, ladies. What's going on here?
Good morning. We are separating the names for the tee times and getting everybody grouped together as they go out.
What's your name?
I'm Jan Taff.
How many years have you been doing this?
I've been doing this 6 years now.
So we start with Ben On. We end with Steve Wheatcroft. Can we go to the G's for a second?
Yes, we can.
All right. Do you see a Janella in there?
No, I do not.
No Janella. What about D for morning drive? Do you see a morning drive?
Let me check that for you. I do not see that.
However,
but it starts right now.
Hey!
And good morning. Yesterday, as we go back and take a look at we looked this morning at Ian Poulter. Ian Poulter's first off this morning. I know he played a lot of chilly mornings at Woburn Golf Club back in his homeland of England. You know what? We decided we would make it feel just like that this morning. And it is day one of the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. John Daly hasn't been here in over a decade. He is in that group alongside Ian Poulter at 7:35. John said he loves the golf course. Most importantly, he loved Mr. Palmer. And a show of love was on display yesterday, starting with his grandson, Sam Saunders. 70 players in succession down the line. A ceremonial tee shot to commemorate what was the beginning of this 120-man invitational field. It was made an invitational, gained that status in 1984, and all these players, and they were absolutely ripping it all the way down the line. And the final player was the defending champion, appropriately the last man to shake the hand of Mr. Palmer coming off the 18th green, and that was Jason Day. A beautiful tribute to the man who meant so much to this place and still does today. Good morning from our home here at Bay Hill Club and Lodge. And I know Mr. Palmer loved his Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, you know what? I feel like we're doing a pregame for the Steelers-Ravens the weekend before Thanksgiving. Gary Williams, pleased to be joined, and he's making his maiden voyage. The Open champion of 1997, Justin Leonard, good to be with you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, you're from Aspen. He's only got on 2 layers. Damon Hack, 3-time winner, Chris DeMarco. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. It's a game day, a very special game day. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Mr. Palmer, at the end of the day, was a golfer. He loves golf, tournament golf, would watch it. We watched the U.S. Open with him in Latrobe last year. This is going to be a great day. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable here. Just a tribute that everybody's been showing Mr. Palmer this week. It really is awesome. I mean, he was Mr. Orlando. I mean, and Mr. Golf, really. So this has been an unbelievable week. Obviously, we'd love to have him here, but the players are doing a great job of tribute.
Chris, you're right. It's been an unbelievable week so far, and a competitive shot has not even been struck yet. That'll happen just after the bottom of the hour. And again, I mentioned 120 players. 4 of the top 5 in the official World Golf Rankings are in this field. Let's take a look at your tee sheet for this first hour of morning drive. And this is a golf course. It's going to be very demanding this week. The rough, and I played in the Pro-Am yesterday and found it on a few occasions, and I am just your everyday, rank and file amateur golfer. It is very demanding. But what are the key shots around the golf course? Justin and Chris are going to point some of those out. Also, Mr. Palmer tinkered on this golf course. It was his life work, but he has work around the world. Arnold Palmer, the design company, Matt Janella has much more on that as well as we continue. And again, we're going to be inside the ropes all morning long. We're going to be with you for 3 hours. And Golf Central pregame is going to take over right for us. And we will take you down to the range. We're going to have some early morning highlights as well, as play will be underway, as we mentioned, in just about a half an hour, Damon.
All right, Gary, Rory McIlroy, the world number 3, has a 108 tee time off 1 today alongside Sam Saunders, Arnold Palmer's grandson, and 2012 FedEx Cup champion Brandt Snedeker. Rory coming off that T7 finish in Mexico after being the 36-hole leader there. And yesterday, he dove headlong into the latest discussion on our game and membership practices.
Muirfield wouldn't be one of my favorite open rota courses, so no matter the decision yesterday, if it had been kept off the open rota, I wouldn't have been that unhappy. But no, I think it's obviously, I was outspoken about this before whenever the vote went the first time around. I mean, it's in this day and age where you've got women that are like the leaders of certain industries and women that are heads of state, and not to be able to join a golf course, I mean, it's obscene. Like, it's ridiculous. So they sort of saw sense. I still think it got to this stage is horrendous. And yeah, I mean, we'll go back and we'll play the Open because they'll let women members in, but every time I go to Muirfield now, I won't have a great taste in my mouth. It's horrendous. I mean, I don't get it. So anyways, like we'll go back there for the Open at some point, and I won't be having many cups of tea with the members afterwards.
Rory McIlroy, unplugged, unafraid to speak his mind. The world number 3, very open and honest. Justin, your reaction to just how free he was yesterday in what he said?
I think it's wonderful how he spoke so honestly. That's a true sign of maturity and freedom, in that he's not worried about the backlash of what people may think. He's speaking his mind, and because of his platform in where he is in the game of golf, he has the ability to impact things socially in a good way, because his moral compass is right on with what he's saying.
It was remarkable listening to him, to think that he was really sticking his finger, in my opinion, in the eye of the Muirfield membership and being unafraid to do it, saying, listen, I'm a child of Northern Ireland. You know, who controls whether they're born male or female or black or white, or whether you grew up in a Catholic household or a Protestant household? I thought his words were very strong and right on, Chris.
I agree 100%. I agree with what Justin said also. You know, a lot of times as a golfer or as a public figure, you say things and you don't really think people are listening. And a lot of times you say the wrong things, and we saw that from him maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I think he knows his role now, and I think he's embracing it. I really think that he knows people are listening, and he knows that he can make an impact, and I think he's embracing that.
Gary, you've spent a lot of time with him, most recently yesterday in the Pro-Am. Are you seeing an evolution in Rory McIlroy from when he turned professional to now?
Yeah, Damon, most certainly. I remember spending time with him. I actually caddied for him in the Pro-Am round after what had happened in 2011 at Augusta National, and this was at Muirfield Village. He would go on 2 weeks later and win the U.S. Open, and I came back saying he was a great listener, which is a great skill as a young man at the age of 21 at the time, but he was a bashful young man. He is a very sturdy, grown man now, and what they said about Ferris Bueller, he's one righteous dude. He is. And what Justin said is very important. He has a platform, and he's using that platform to let people know exactly how he feels about issues in the game. The Olympics first, and maybe it was a little clumsy, but we found out the true nature of where his heart was regarding that entire issue, because he was made a political football. In this case, he could have said, it's about time. He didn't say that. He said exactly what he thought.
Pre-Olympics, post-Olympics, wonderful interviews in The Guardian and the Irish Independent as late of well. You also spent some time hitting some golf shots with him yesterday, or
I don't know, with him.
Were you in the same zip code at any of your tee shots?
Well, yeah.
You outdrove him all day long, is what you said.
On a few occasions now, the tees we were playing from were, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 yards.
75?
Yeah, and this was really, boy, my iron game was outstanding. If you can hear, where's the audio? I said 4, because that was 4 left. But it was always enjoyable to spend time with him. And the thing, it wasn't just me chatting with him. He was wonderful with everybody associated with the group, and we talked a lot about his rehab, Damon, and what he did. And he missed the game so much, but he was incredibly patient. It was a lot of rotational stuff the first 4 weeks. The one thing he said to me, he said, you know what, I got to putt. And he putted a lot for that entire month. I thought he looked really good and very healthy.
Putting a skill he'll need this week and, of course, next month at Augusta National. Let's get this conversation, keep it going about Rory McIlroy, bringing Ron Green, a great writer with the Global Golf Post, longtime writer with Charlotte as well. Ron, good morning. Your thoughts on Rory McIlroy, what you heard yesterday, his willingness to be so open and honest with his thoughts?
Well, I thought it was refreshing. It's nice to see him, he did not present it himself. It was asked of him. And when he got the question, he knew what he wanted to say, and he said it. And I think, here at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, we're talking about a man, or honoring a man who was sort of a spokesman and a representative of the game worldwide. I think Rory's growing into that right now. I think he has some strong opinions. I think most people applauded what he had to say. And just, there was an eloquence to it, a thoughtfulness to it. And I think it was really great to see. And I mean, he is a guy who's got a special place in the game right now. And I think he's now, like I said, grown into it.
You know, has he become the conscience of the game in some sense, really kind of putting himself out there where others, you know, may say the canned response or the safe response in your mind?
Well, I think he's matured. I mean, from when we saw him win at Wells Fargo years ago, and he was sort of a new guy around here, and everybody's sort of just in awe of what he could do on the golf course. I think he sees himself as a sort of a world figure in the game, and I think the game has always had people, whether Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, other people, who have sort of taken the mantle and stood up for spoken about what they think is right. And I think Rory has found himself in that place. I think he likes that. I think he feels a responsibility to say what's on his mind, and if he can affect change or affect sort of the way people look at things, I think that's a very good thing on his behalf.
Well, his best finish here, a tie for 11th. The golf course, so many great holes on the front and back nine. What is the key stretch of golf holes in your mind?
I can't hear.
Ron, I was asking you about the golf
Sorry,
course.
I lost you there.
Any key stretch in your mind, the front nine versus the back nine? What's the key stretch in your opinion?
What's the key?
Sounds like we can't hear. We have some technical difficulties. We'll hope to speak to Ron in the next hour, Gary.
Yeah, but I think just to reiterate what he was saying is that he does have, again, back to Justin's word regarding Rory McIlroy, he's got a platform in this game. And the question you asked him about, you know, his form in this golf course, seeing him yesterday, and he's made some equipment changes, and I took a very close look at what is in his bag, and it's very different from what he was playing, including the golf ball going back to a ball that he played before he signed with Nike. He said the ball spins a little bit more. The Nike ball didn't spin quite as much, but I can tell you that new driver that he is playing, wow.
I love how honest he is about the Masters, the one gap in the Hall of Fame resume to complete the career Grand Slam. He's saying, listen, I can't hide from this, Justin. He's saying, this is what I have to do. Do you like that he's verbalizing it and being honest about saying, hey, this is what I have to do to be where I want to be?
I do. Again, it goes back to a sign of maturity when you can man up and say, you know, yeah, I messed this up completely, but I'm going to learn from it and move forward. I love his comments and just the honesty, again, the maturity, and the freedom not to worry about what the members at Muirfield or the RNA are going to think, but speaking his mind, and he's a needle mover. Yes. And so to be able to have that kind of conscious, I mean, a lot of guys have platforms, and a lot of what they say, you're just like, come on. But, I mean, Rory he makes a lot of sense, and again, I think where his moral compass is, he could make some change, not just the game of golf, but far outside of that.
Yeah, one other thing he's been doing in that layoff before Mexico, wedding planning, because that is coming up. I said, you need to stay out of that. All right, let's take a look at, and all of us are nodding because we've been down that road. Now let's take a look at a tee time, a morning group. Hideki Matsuyama. These are three of the best players in the world grouped together. Matsuyama, Stenson, and Justin Rose. And you can see that they would be off at 8-11. And Christian, you look at Hideki Matsuyama. This will be his third start in this event. Played well here last year, tied for 6. You would think, as we go inside the ropes, that this golf course is suited. There's not many that are not for this guy's game.
No, you know, what I love about his game is even if you watch his putt and stroke right here, you watch the tempo in it, and the putt and stroke it carries right through to the long game. You know, it's such a great tempo, such a great transition at the top of his golf swing, and it carries right through to his putt and stroke. You can see the nice transition. He waits for it, and he puts just a beautiful stroke on. Obviously, probably played the best golf in the last probably 5 or 6 months out of anybody in the world. So this is going to be a fun group to watch if you come out here and brave the cold.
Okay, what's the over and under on one-handed, disgusted finishes where it's piped down the middle or it's within 15 feet? What's the over and under?
Whatever the number, I'm taking the over. Whatever number.
26.
26.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, guys. I was with Hideki at the Hero, which he won by 2 shots over Henrik Stenson every single day. After every round, he was the last player on the putting green. To me, he has the perfect combination of being hungry but also humble about the game and his position in the game. He knows that perhaps he is right now the best player without a major championship. He's the highest ranked player without a major championship. I think he has the perfect mindset and absolutely the game to break through and win that first major championship.
Well, and I mean, coming up here in just a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think his game stacks up pretty well at Augusta. I mean, he drives the ball a long ways, hits the ball high. Obviously, this part of his game is probably most improved in the last year. You got to think he's a serious favorite there in Augusta.
You know, there's so many things that can happen over the course of a player's career, but with respect to what he's done early at his young age, and he just celebrated a birthday, he has a chance to be the greatest player in the history of his nation, which is saying a lot because they have a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame.
And he was asked about that. You know, you could potentially be the Japanese Tiger Woods. He was asked that question at the Hero, and through his interpreter, he was like, whoa, easy. I've got a long way to go. I've got a lifetime to go before I can even be mentioned in the same phrase as Tiger Woods. He seems to have his head on his shoulders.
Well, you know, you look at a Japanese player out on this tour, and it's just not him and maybe a couple handlers. It is a posse that comes around with him. There's so much media with him and people writing stories about him. And then when they're playing, it's on big TVs out there. People are watching all over the world. The expectations of a Japanese player and what he's done with it is pretty amazing.
It's an excellent point. It's not just expectations, it's responsibilities. We talked about all those years Tiger Woods having a responsibility to explain himself to the media after every round. Hideki Matsuyama has to do the exact same thing, and he's performing at this incredibly high level. All right, we're just getting started, and there's been a lot of social media this week, naturally so, with this being the first year without Mr. Palmer's presence. So let's send it back down to Matt Janella.
Yeah, good morning, Gary, down here on the range. And as you said, a lot of great tweets, Instagram posts yesterday, spanning some of what we had to look at and to share with some of the viewers. We'll start with Tiger Woods. Tiger started with a quote from Mr. Palmer: "The most rewarding things you do in life are often the ones that look like they cannot be done. Thinking of you this week." From the cat to the king. And Keegan Bradley with some shoes, long live the king, with 7 Ryder Cup appearances, 7 major championships, 62 wins. He features those on his shoes. Bubba Watson with the big pin on his visor this week, honoring the king and certainly the legend, a life well played. And finally, Rory McIlroy, simply and an emoji, the crown for the king. All right, Arnold Palmer Design is responsible for over 300 courses all over the world. Coming up, we hear from the 2 men who are being led with the charge to take Arnold Palmer Design Company into the future. Lots more Morning Drive right after this.